Hello, everybody. Everyone is all right. Looking if all my pages are open. There we go. Making sure everything is all right. And here we go. Let's start the party. And here we go. And sounding good. That's what we want. So, tuned to 17.16.5, hearing the KPH station in Point Reyes, California, weak signal of KPH in Saturday transmissions in Morse code. And we're doing a little bit of tuning around. Looking at the conditions, space weather, so looking at the K index. It's rather quiet for now. So there is a possible warning for geomagnetic storm that could hit, that could have happened with a when the CMU will hit the Earth sometime today. But for now, it seems quiet. I'll check on my phone for that. The app is good for Space Weather Live app is good for the warnings. Okay, so hey, we're almost there. In a week's time, we'll be at the longest days of the year for the Northern Hemisphere, which also means that it'll be the shortest day of the year in the Southern Hemisphere, because they'll be getting into winter. So time flies. We're getting into summer. It's been hot here this week. We've had upper 80s and humidity. So it's the air conditioning been working a lot this week. Today it's a little cooler. It's still hot. We're in or around 80, or about 80 Fahrenheit, a little more today. And we're I turned off the air conditioning. I probably can handle it for today. So it's nice to have all of you here, as usual, of course. And we'll have fun with radio. So let's start this show. Welcome aboard. This is the Saturday live show for Shortwave radio and radio in general. And hope that you will have fun also. Tuning the bands, checking out what's on the radio, and whatever. So it's really nice to be here every Saturday. And next week we'll have a double. Next week we'll have the live show on Saturday, and I'll do a special live show for the BBC midwinter broadcast that will happen on Sunday of next week on the 21st. So we're waiting for frequencies. We haven't had any frequencies yet, that even for the tests. So we're waiting for frequencies for the BBC midwinter. They technically should arrive at some point. Some people have, kind of noted the frequencies of last year, but that doesn't mean that it will be, the case that they'll use the same frequencies this year. They tend to change most of the time. So BBC Midwinter will be something to check out for sure. And we'll do it live here. So if you want to join us in trying picking up that 30 minutes broadcast of the BBC for their Antarctic research base, it's always fun. And so, and we're in the last week of CHU, and we'll talk about it. We've got possibly the time that it's going to shut down, actually. And that's thanks to Sheldon Harvey. So we're going to talk about that. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and that's northeast part of North America. And we are here every Saturday at 20 UTC. We have a chat room where you can join in with beautiful, wonderful people that are great. And I think we've got the best audience here, really the best people. It's really cool to be here. And I have all of these great folks out there that are joining in. Of course, a lot of people stay quiet. Not everybody is, participating in the chat, but it's always nice to know who you are, where you are, and feel free to join in and say hello to everyone. Also, after this is over, we have a Facebook group which has the same name as the channel, Official SWL Channel. We're getting pretty close to 4,500 members, which is a lot of people. Pretty cool. And there people share what they're listening to, the radios they use, anything, comments on their own radios and so on. It's another great place to be, and it's definitely fun to see the activity there. I post regularly when I listen to the radio, the things that I listen to and the signals I hear. So it's kind of cool. So welcome aboard to this live stream. Always nice to have all of you here. And it's pretty cool because we this week I did a little bit of radio on Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. Conditions were quite good. And I was so surprised because I was trying to get the Iqaluit Navtex transmission on 8416.5. So they have a transmission at 0330 that is usually easy to pick up here in Montreal. And the signal is there, but to my surprise, what I just found incredible is that before 0330, I tuned in at 03. The video starts at 0328 on the channel, I think, but I started tuning in at around 0315, and I had a really good signal from L2C Argentina with their Navtex transmission in Spanish. So it was really cool. But for the first time ever, I've never witnessed that before. Argentina was so strong, it was stronger than Iqaluit. And so they were, when Iqaluit got on the air, they were mixing in together and I couldn't decode anything. I finally decoded a little bit at the end of the bulletin, and that's because L2C Argentina was weaker or signed off. But man, that was kind of something that I've never witnessed. I usually hear L2C, but often it's so weak that when Iqaluit starts, it just goes way more than the Argentina marine station. So anyways, we'll try that again. Maybe even tonight I'll try it. I find it always interesting to hear something from the Arctic Circle from Nunavut, Canada. It's kind of cool to hear these stations. And since it's summer now, they're active, and there's a lot of activity. I was searching for a book that I've seen in PDF only once, and I can't find it again. There's a book that is about the scientific research going on in the in Nunavut, Canada, in the Arctic. And there were in that book examples of there were examples of radios that they use and frequencies and monitoring of these frequencies for any traffic. Apparently, a lot of them use HF radio. There's a HF station that actually monitors these frequencies 24 hours a day in case one station needs to call for help in emergencies and stuff. And I can't find that darn PDF, which was, I'm not sure if it was made by the Canadian government or if it came from maybe some research group or university or something. So I'm trying to find that, and I'd like to really find a copy of it, because it turns out that when you start looking at it, and in the summertime, June, July, August, there's a lot of HS activity on the bands and the utilities for Nunavut, Canada, and the Arctic. So we're going to check that out. If I can find it, I'd like that to find some frequencies and try to monitor. So welcome, everybody. Once again, I'm tuning here 17016.5, which is the, I'm hearing the Morse code coming out of Marine Station KPH, Point Reyes, California, coming through. And on the ICOM, I'm 7850, a very weak CHU time signal. But I've seen a lot of videos of CHU this week. People are taking the time to listen in like never, and this is kind of sad that we're a little more than a week away. By the way, for those that wonder, CHU is going to stop their transmission on Monday, June 22nd, and the transmissions will stop somewhere between 14 and 14:30 UTC. And more precisely, possibly at 14:10 UTC. So I don't know why that specific time, but this comes from someone at the National Research Council. Sheldon Harvey sent a email, and that email, they answered the email immediately and said that they are thinking of that it's going to shut down on Monday, June 22nd, between 14 and 14:30. So if you want to listen or record the last minutes of CHU before they leave, that is going to be the time that the switch is going to be pulled. I have no idea if there's going to be an announcement or anything, unfortunately, but that's going to be the deal coming up in the on Monday, June 22nd. A sad day for CHU to leave the airwaves. So again, from anywhere, it will be anywhere from 14 to 14:30 UTC. Next week, of course, once again, like I said at the beginning, we will have the BBC Midwinter broadcast on Sunday, June 21st. Usually it's like 21:30 UTC, 21:30 to 22:30 to 22 UTC. Sorry, a 30-minute show. We will do a shorter, not a regular live show. We'll do it will be shorter, but we'll do a live show to listen in. If you guys want to join in and listen together, see if you can hear one of the frequencies. Still no announcements on the frequencies. The page is up. We know it's going to happen, but we don't have frequencies yet. Usually they test those frequencies about 2 or 3 days before, and then they have the official frequencies for the broadcast itself. So we're gonna try and get that, and I'll probably post a video with the information on the frequencies to tune to, and hopefully we'll hear one of those frequencies. And last year, I remember there was, I think it was 12065, if I remember right. That frequency was like really good here, and we could hear the the broadcast really well. I think it was from a Wolverton, UK transmitter. So hopefully we're going to have some good propagation and we'll hear that. And of course, if we don't, we do have Kiwi SDRs online that we can use to compensate. So welcome everybody. And by the way, if you like what I do, if you want to help out, and your help has been very, very important in the last year, you can send a little something through the super chat, and that will help me a lot. You can also check out for the sushi fund, which is what is going to happen tonight. The sushi fund and cat treats for tonight through PayPal. Also, if you want to help out, make sure that I don't starve to death and become all thin, very skinny. And it is, like I said, much appreciated. Has been helping a lot. Thank you for those that have donated. I want to thank you. I want to thank right now. I've seen them come through. So I want to thank Art Dodd. Thank you so much for the donation. Brian Leisner, thank you for the donation. Kevin Davidson or Blogger Die, well, thank you for the donation. Bob from Wick, thank you for the donation. It is much appreciated. Really, really helps a lot. You have no idea. So here we go. Richard Wagner, nice to have you on board for Northeast Illinois. Matt is at work, so we'll surely be still on the air when it's when you get off work. Nice to have you here, MDK2. Mike B, nice to have you on board. Thank you for being here from Bayfield, Colorado. And Gabriel, nice to have you on board from Montevideo, Uruguay. Always nice to have you on board. Cloudy and misty, just the right weather for a shortwave stream. Jay Watterson, 69, nice to have you here. Paul Stringer, thank you so much for being here. Hope you are well. Nice to have you on board from St. Catharines, Ontario. And his listener call sign, VE3105 SWL. The Vaults, nice to have you on board from Latvia. Nice to have you here. Free to choose, nice to have you on board from Saint-Hyacinthe. J'espère que tu vas bien. Toujours un plaisir. ZY3WR, thank you for being here. Nice to have you on board. Says condition is high, can hear Radio Mali more clearly. Also, English segment that was at 18 UTC, but with noise floor. So nice to know that you've heard Mali. Brian Leisner, conditions are not so great today. Nice to have you here from Philadelphia. John Beckham from Northeast Florida. Blogger Die, nice to have you here from sunny Virginia. Chuck Schreiber, nice to have you on board from South Texas. Mike WX50, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. Joseph, nice to have you on board from a foggy San Francisco Bay Area. And I haven't taken a sip of my beer, by the way. Cheers, everybody. So Joseph says that he had some fun propagation times the past few days. Looking forward to tuning the bands. Robert Varner, nice to have you here from New Jersey, KC2TEL. Craig Martinetti, nice to have you here from Ontario, Canada. 09 Keller, nice to have you here from Texas. Brett Woolley, nice to have you on board in northwestern Oklahoma. MJP Radio Crime Boss, nice to have you here. WRSN 677. Keegan, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. Always a pleasure to have you here. Jay Watterson says, can't start the party without Paul the Cat. Paul the Cat is on the balcony in the backyard, actually, taking it easy outside. With this kind of weather of around 80 some Fahrenheit, he likes to lie down outside and he just looks in the backyard to see if he sees some of his cat friends. Art, K2ADC, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Sorry. Red Woolley says, I didn't know it was a party. Would have cleaned up a bit. Rob Carter, nice to have you here from Texas. We have Craig Martinetti that's saying go Knicks. And so let's hope. I don't remember. It's been a while since they won last time, right? Gino, nice to have you here from Kentucky. Toast and love, nice to have you on board from the deep south. We have John Beckham, Michael, nice to have you here. Fiddle 121, nice to have you here from Brooklyn. Andy New, M7CUN, Bristol, UK. Michael is in West Caldwell, New Jersey. Fred Water, nice to have you on board from Ontario, Canada. John Ritson, nice to have you here from the UK to E0JGR. Says glad that my shift patterns allowed me the time to be here. Pretty cool. Nice to have you here. RJDA Dakota, nice to have you on board from Winsville, Missouri. We have Joseph that says it's that time of the year where I can hear people shooting skip on 11 meters lower sideband from Australia late at night. Pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Never heard anything from that distance on 11 meters here. Then again, I've often tried in the daytime, which is more in the time where I often hear like South America or things like that in the summer. But yeah, maybe it would be worth, the East Coast in Australia, especially with 11 meters where signals, tend to not be that powerful. It's a tough one. You've got the whole Pacific Ocean there that's helping you there on the West Coast. Joseph says, yesterday I heard a guy from Qatar making contact with a guy from Mexico. Crazy. Jasmine, nice to have you on board from a sunny and warm World Cup city of Seattle. And so she said I went to a massive watch party for USA versus Paraguay, which was followed by a Brazilian dance music night last night. Cool. Sounds fun. And the Vault says, she'll hope you did not miss Grand Transatlantic 6-meter opening this week. A friend of mine worked over 130 QSOs with VE stations and W stations. Yeah, I 3 days, I think it was like 3 days in a row that the 6 meters was really, really wide open. Unfortunately, I have a problem with my coax that I need to change, and the 6-meter band was kind of pretty much off limits. I could transmit only just for a short amount of time before the SWR would start rising. So I couldn't really enjoy much of it. I did make a couple of contacts with people, with U.S. stations, Caribbean stations, one from Mexico on 6. But I didn't make a lot because I didn't want to ruin anything. So I got the coax right here. I just need to set it up to change the old one. Jasmine says tourists are already here. Some Belgian guys are amazed at the atmosphere at the events. Lots of people wearing their national team jerseys at a Cute USA women's national team crop top. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Old radios, nice to have you here. Says no radios, but cameras and a Columbia Graphonola. A Graphonola, okay. Fred Water, I have a Nunavut joke. Where is Nunavut? Between some of it and all of it. Where do you have Church Schreiber? Nice to have you on board. KW 1161, Kenneth, nice to have you on board. As usual. Old radios. There's a Philco 4128 in good shape cosmetically, but the cord is shot, and they want $120. Yeah, sometimes, and does, when you see old devices, old radios, one of the biggest problems I have is when you go there and, it's missing a part, or, the cord is cut, or, there's something that doesn't look right. and they still want to have like a couple of $100 for it, and you're like, no, come on. It's not even. It's not in the state of a working order state right now. I'm not going to pay that for something that is missing something. It's missing. Who knows what's missing, and does it work? And sometimes they ask way too much money for junk. SWL Signals, nice to have you on board from hot and humid Florida. Let's just go back up here. And what else do we have? Soul Radio says it's been pretty rainy lately. Sorry, guys. Okay, here we go. Gabriel says, talking about marine stations, I remember back in the 90s dreaming of buying those Klingelfuss utility stations guide. I know they're still around. Used to bring all info to QSL, those stations. Yeah, it's still around. It's very expensive. I owned one Klingelfuss book. Maybe I probably purchased it 2 or 3 times in the 90s. At that time, Sheldon Harvey was selling books, and he had in those books the Klingelfuss, and I remember purchasing that book a couple of times, really finding it extremely, extremely cool for all of the information of utilities in there. It's crazy amazing what you have in that book. I've actually been thinking about, it's to get one here. I think it would come up to something like 140 Canadian dollars. But I almost want to buy one. Especially, I'm doing the utility column in the Messenger. It would be probably a great reference for me to look at. And also all the information that maybe I would get from and learn from that book of the different stations that are on the air right now. So sometimes I think it was at Christmas. I was like this close. I was like, could be a Christmas gift, the Klingelfuss utility. DJ K Solo, nice to have you on board from New York. Fred Waterer says, I tried sushi once, but I sent it back. It was way underdone. Vacant Align, thank you so much for the super chat. Much appreciated. Thank you for the donation. Really, really helps a lot. Thank you, Gabriel, for the donation also. Much appreciated. Really, really is important. Helps a lot, guys. So thank you for the support. What do we have? Fred Water likes the shirt Back to the Future. That shirt I got for, there was a station that I would listen to, 103.3 FM. They had a party for the show's 10th anniversary, which is an 80s music show. And they would, so we would have to send a little message to them, and they would, I think they chose 10 people that would be at the party. They had beer, they had wine, and they had pizza. And so they would choose 10 people of their listeners. And I was one of the lucky 10 to win the opportunity to go to the party at the station. And they were asking us to have something that represents the 80s. So I didn't know if at first what exactly I would, bring. And then I saw this T-shirt, and I thought, oh, that nothing more 80s than Back to the Future. So I purchased a T-shirt for that occasion, which was a lot of fun. We had really a lot of fun, and the party ended at a bar, a restaurant bar that was at the corner of the street of where the station is. And it went on like up to, I think it was 1 a.m. when it ended. It was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun to meet the two hosts of the 80s show at the time. I guess that was, that was somewhere, let me guess, 2, 3, maybe 3 years ago. It was just after the pandemic ended and things started to come back to normal. Cool, Paul Stringer. Nice to have you here. Nice to know everything's all right. N179 GNAS 9. Nice to have you on board. Aline de Lyon, bienvenue. J'espère que ça va bien. C'est un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Nice to have you here. Jeff Ritter, nice to have you here from sunny Orlando, Florida. Toast and love hearing the time stations except 25 and 3330. Thank you, Keegan. Cheers to everybody, whatever drink you have. I bought something today that I never buy because I try to avoid very sugary stuff. But I was going to get my beer, and there was a 6-pack of small cans of Crush orange soda. And I was like, oh man, I haven't had that orange soda in years. So I bought one little 6-pack of it's always good, but I never buy it because it's too easy to start drinking that, and then you get like too much sugar and too much calories. Oh, it ain't worse than beer, but WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you here, Bert. Jumping on board from a warm, sunny Virginia. Spent 2.5 hours doing yard work, and he's getting ready for astronomy night, so pretty cool. And it's an official international dark sky park. That's cool. Fred Water says nasty weather on the way up the Windsor, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal corridor this week. Yeah, there is a lot of thunderstorms, and even tonight there's no warnings, but they are kind of saying that we might have some rain showers. I know tomorrow it's supposed to be rainy. So Brett Woolley, match your shirt. Okay. Brian Leesner, bummer, lots of noise, 2 SDRs and 3 antennas. It's daytime in the summer. Yeah, daytime in the summer is not the best in the mid-afternoons like this to hear anything. It's really better when we get towards the I kind of like the shift in propagation when we start getting like mid-August, where you're starting to get closer to what is going to be the fall propagation. And I kind of like that shift. We start hearing a lot of things that when you're in the deep of summer, it's not, we don't hear any of that. Absorption is just too big and too. But Radio New Zealand's been coming in well. I find that Radio New Zealand is coming better this year on 17675 than it did last year on on the same frequency, where it was more difficult to hear. Jasmine says, yep, we pick up lots of stuff from Australia and New Zealand on the West Coast. Everybody has its stuff. I hear a lot of stuff from Europe, and that are tougher for you guys on the West. So it's kind of, we each have our own little thing that helps us. Rick Myers, KO4OSA, nice to have you on board from Central Florida. Upper 90s in my home with storms lurking around. What else do we have? What else do we have? John Beckham. Yeah, I'm fine. Darren Rogers, KB2AHS, Long Island, New York. Finally, listener, even though I have SDR Connect, I find myself gravitating back to SDR++. BGM X4X, thank you for the tip. Can you recommend a decent beginner handheld ham radio? I know you said before some of the cheaper ones scan too slowly to be useful. Are you going to use it for a ham radio? Are you a ham radio operator, or is mostly for listening only? Just out of curiosity. And what are the frequency ranges? Also, you wanna tune? Out of curiosity. Keegan DXer, none of it, having none of it. Kamikaze 76, nice to have you on board from West Michigan. Mike WX50, I remember watching soccer matches on PBS when I was young fella. Wow. In the 70s. Kevin, nice to have you on board from St. Pete, Florida. And so spend the day in Dunedin. Great weather. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. You're having fun down there in Florida. Paul, AA1SU, nice to have you on board from Northern Vermont. Played around a little with the Ethan E1 XM today. A lot of foreign language soccer broadcasts, I noticed. I wonder why. Jasmine says, I'd love if the Klingerfus book came with a preset database file for various SDR software. Yeah. I know that he's adding stuff all the time because he's got a lot of the Klingenfist book now as a database. One of the things I look at is he's got a database on CD-ROM, but I'm not even sure I got. Oh yeah, I think I got one hidden somewhere, or external CD for a PC, because all my PCs do not have any ways of playing CDs. Fredwater, I'm not really into the Kiki Valley tourney, but love all the community parties in Toronto whenever teams play. Yeah, I'm not much of I'm not much of a follower of the FIFA World Cup either. But hearing all the I live near a community of Algerian and people from Morocco and so on, and so these guys are crazy with these matches, so it puts a atmosphere of party here too. Whenever some of their countries are playing, and if they ever win matches, it's almost like when the Montreal Canadiens were winning. Blagodai local store has $5 sushi on Wednesdays, so that's when I get sushi. That's cool. That's cool. Joseph, not at all a sports fan. I guess that's where my autism really comes through. Yeah, not a big sports fan either here. My WX50, I bought the Back to the Future Future Trilogy 4K disc set, but I haven't watched 2 and 3 yet. They're good. They're all good. One movie that made me laugh, I find it a little kind of, I don't know, not the kind of humor that makes me laugh in general, but there's a movie called A Million Ways to Die in the West or something like that. And in that movie, which is set in 1885 or something there, the guy goes home at late at night and there's like a barn and he sees weird lights and he goes and he opens the barn door just to see what's happening in there. And it's Doc Brown with the DeLorean fixing the DeLorean for Marty. I found that bit to be kind of funny that they put a little joke of Back to the Future in that movie. Kenneth says Back to the Future ended in 2015, still waiting for the flying cars and hoverboards. Yeah, yeah. I wonder. It's not exactly like what we have in the movie. Like I said, I've only watched excerpts from Back to the Future. It's amazing the vast array of movies I haven't watched. I used to be a big movie theater fan. I used to be like Friday night was movie night. And I always, one of my friends from back in the day, we would see every movie possible on Friday night. It was movie night. We'd go to the movies. And I've seen a lot of movies up to like probably the late 90s, the late 90s. Uh, and then it kind of fiddled off. It's kind of, it's getting so expensive, especially if you go there and you want to have, a Coke, a popcorn, and some, candy. It's like you get out of there and it's gonna, it's costing you like $60 just to go to the movies. And so I've been also finding movies that are playing in the theaters now less attractive. There's something about, I'm tired of all the let's, have number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the same, franchise, and oh, let's do a twist to one of the Marvel or, Spider-Man or whatever. And I'm like, nah, it's getting boring. There's that, the innovation isn't there. For some reason, I find that the movies that were made before were actually more interesting than the ones we have today. um, Joseph, maybe in fact, maybe by definition, the sports fans are actually the weird ones. Yeah, who knows? Paul Richardson, nice to have you here. Oh, really? You got the 6 pack of Orange Mini Crush? Well, that's where I got it at the dollar store. Paul Richardson. I went to get a few things that I needed there, and that's where I picked up the 6 pack of orange. Because usually I buy a 6 pack of Diet 7-Up, and today I was like, oh, I gotta get myself a 6 pack of Orange Mini Crush. Yeah. Fred Waterer, I often call the Premier of Ontario Biff 10. He does kind of fit the role, though. Black Eye says Google Maps will compute distance. Keegan, I had a Olipop strawberry vanilla prebiotic soda. Does sound good. Kevin, diluted down with some Grey Goose vodka on the rocks. Oh, I'm sure that must be good. I'm sure that must be good. I love Grey Goose. It's one of the great vodkas out there. Especially when you want it straight. Because a lot of vodkas, when you actually just take a shot, are very they're kind of not that great. Um, but I will try that. You're giving me an idea here. Mike WX50, right click on Google Maps and it'll let you measure distance. Skidology, nice to have you here from Southern Ontario, Canada. Recently scored a deal with my local, at my local. Just go check where I was. I lost my spot. And, okay, local, recently a deal on local Value Village. Grundig FR 200 Grand Radio at the best thing, and it appears to be fully analog. Yes, the FR 200 is an analog radio. Has a little bit of drift because it's not a PLL radio, but it's a nice. I need to take it out. I have one here, a red one, and it's kind of neat. It's kind of neat to play with. VT Radio says my Star Wars T-shirt shows the Death Star with the caption, "I'm in my happy place." Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. The East Coast gets Europe, Africa easily, and you guys on the West Coast get Asia easily. $7.99, not bad, not bad. I got mine at my FR 200. I got mine at I think it was at Canadian Tires. I think it was at Canadian Tires. I went there and it was there on sale or something. I don't remember how much I paid for it though. I need to go back to Canadian Tires. I don't know if they still sell radios. I wonder. WF7 Bruce says for hams, at least summer is the time for the Magic Band 6 meters. Many stations coming around the world, getting so close to work all states. Fred Waters says, I admire people who score at Goodwill or Value Village. Anytime I go and it's like, oh, look, a broken speaker. Yeah, I pretty much the same for me here. Every time I go there, it's like I never see anything of interest. A friend of mine actually, that's where I got a Commodore 128. A friend of mine was going there all the time, and I think he found like 3 or 4 Commodore 64s and 2 or 3 Commodore 128s for like $10. And I'm like, why do I never see these things when I go there? I'd love to see a Commodore 64 at $10. I'd pick it up immediately. Rick Myers, KO4 OSA. Speaking of Radio New Zealand at 11 UTC on 7245, they had a great signal today. Lightning alert disconnected for the time being. Oh, that's a good find. A MacBook Pro for $250, which only a few years old. That's a good find. All of those, I still think it's odd they have it in at least the least soccer country ever. Yeah. Blagadai says I have a USB CD-ROM drive. Yeah, that's I think I have one. I was thinking about it, and I do think I have one somewhere. It's actually a DVD player, USB DVD player that also can write to CDs and DVDs. Nickel, nice to have you here. G6PGV from the UK. Appreciate the channel. Thank you so much, Nickel. Nice to have you here. So, John Beckham, is there a show today? We're in a show now. All radios, College World Series going on near me. Kenneth says, I bought the one of the last batch of Asus DVD writers, DVD ROM drive. BGM X4X, I do not have a ham license, just want a ham radio for listening only. I don't know which frequencies. We've had pretty bad storms lately. Just wanted to listen to any activity that may be useful. If you want to listen to local stuff, it depends where you are, because on the handheld side of scanner radios, for example, the some places are still very analog, and a regular scanner radio will, pick up a lot of things. Some cities have a lot of stuff that's now gone digital, so you might not hear that much. My recommendation personally, if you want something that listens to, say maybe can try to listen to the police, the fire department, amateur radio bands, VHF, UHF, I would look for a used scanner. Would not invest money in buying a new one. I think it's not worth it. And any used scanner is going to scan real fast. Is going to be real good, and the performance is going to be nice for listening to what you want. And if you want to listen to shortwave radio, AM, FM, stuff like that, well, there's a lot of really good little portables, like Texan has several models that are really nice and not very expensive. The Texan PL330, PL520. These will give you shortwave, AM, FM, long wave, and that would be pretty much my recommendations if you don't want to spend a lot of money, but have something functional and working. Dominic, nice to have you on board. Paul Stringer, well, PBS is not shutting down, but there are some cuts at different PBS and NPR stations. Kevin Michael, seen Back to the Future when it came out Friday night, was a drive-in. Today I don't go because it is expensive and the movies are not good. I agree 100%. Yep. My story of Back to the Future is I went to see it with my brother. It was a weekday. I think it was a weekday. I was, on summer vacation, and we just had a huge thunderstorm go through as we were walking towards the cinema. And just as I arrived at the corner where the cinema is, where the movie theater is, a bus was coming real fast and just went into one of those really big, there's a lot of water on the street. It just goes through that water. I get slammed by a huge wave. I am wet from head to toe. And when I mean wet, it was like wet. I could actually, just take my t-shirt off and try to get as much water out. And the problem with that is that movie theaters in the summertime tend to push the air conditioning to the max. So when we got in the movie theater, it was freaking cold and I was wet. So it's like I watched Back to the Future all wet, cold, trying to, focus on the movie rather than focusing on the fact that I was freezing in my wet seat. I'm going to put myself on the frequency, guys. If you guys want to try, the first number station for the week, 17421 is the frequency where it's going to be. So this is going to give us a good idea of propagation conditions. This is going to give us a good idea of propagation conditions. So 17421. I'm going to put it here. 421 CW. 420 upper sideband. And here we go. Let me just try to get back where I was. Keegan the Exer says he used to watch football with my late dad and later my late sister and posted about Packer games on Facebook, but cut back in the last 2 years, occasionally posts for Super Bowl or World Series. Yeah, all the radios, yeah. It's here I live in a community of people that are big soccer fans, and they actually rearranged the local park here where there's a soccer field. It's funny because, they call it football. We call it soccer. So I kind of hear a lot about it, but and in high school, I had the same gym teacher throughout high school, and he was the guy came from Egypt, and he made us play soccer a lot. I remember that most of probably 80% of all of the gym time at high school was playing soccer. Kenneth, I'm looking forward to Acme versus Coyote in August. King and DX says, I agree about older movies versus more recent. Fred Water and the 2014 World Cup, they set up a small TV so people could keep up at my work. 2 of my French colleagues were watching. Kenneth says, Canoe 61, do they also have the REM song Orange Crush? Old radios. Anyone remembers the 2010, remembers the Vuvuzelas? Oh, God, yes. I remember that. WF7I Homebrew says, I don't think PBS is shutting down, and if so, yes, it will be missed by great many. Yeah, no, PBS isn't shutting down, but there are cuts that are being done across the PBS networks. They're laying off a few people on the NPR, also the National Public Radio, to try to save money as much as possible. Rotten Animal, nice to have you here from Toronto. Kev Michael, nice to have you on board. Craig Martinetti, I saw a really funny movie online. It's an older movie called Tootsie. Oh man, I remember seeing Tootsie in high school. We had here because I would go to French class, and let's just wait a couple of seconds for the number stations. We'll see if we hear it. I'm curious. Yeah, hearing it. It's not super strong, but I'm hearing it. Propagation is actually slightly better than last week, because I am hearing it. But it's not very strong, 17,421. So in high school, we since I was going to French school, in our English class, we had 2 movies that we would watch in English and that we would have an exam on to see if we understood what the movie is all about. And one of those movies, I still remember, one of those movies back in the day was Tootsie. I'm not even sure I've seen that movie since high school, but I do remember very well. It's actually a very good movie. With what, Dustin Hoffman in there playing the role of Tootsie. He's in love with the girl actress, and the girl actress tries to kiss her, and the girl actress thinks she's a lesbian. RJ Dakota. I don't think PBS is closing. Rather, a lot of stations would be spun off. Yep. Old radios, the more red parts of America. Yeah. Let's not go too far and hold radios on any of that. All right. Let's keep it to a very neutral conversation. Kevin Michael says China is on a 41-meter band in the morning here in my area. What do we have? PVM, good afternoon. Nice to have you here. Greg Martinetti, yes, starring Dustin Hoffman. Yeah. What else do we have? Old radios. Collective Soul gives me nostalgia. Brian Leesner can still pick up an external CD player, likely in the form of a DVD burner. Still keep one around. Yeah, I think I now that I ordered one, I think like a few years back on Amazon because I needed one, and I haven't used it since. So it's probably buried deep under the junk somewhere, but I probably have one. Fred Water, I like the music of 50s, 60s, and 70s, but there's good music of all eras. Oh, absolutely. Blogger AI says Canadian Tire doesn't sell portable radios anymore, only car radios and clock radios. Consider the source. Huh. Mike WDX, I'm a multi-generational music fan as well. Yeah. I was a big fan of, like, I'm an X, Generation X, so I'm a Gen X guy. So 70s, late 70s to 80s were kind of my thing, but I had my brother at home that's 9 years older than me, and he was more of a rock guy, so I would be influenced by him listening to Led Zeppelin, The Doors, Pink Floyd, things like that, the Rolling Stones. So I'm a big mixed bag of all sorts of things that I love, thanks to my brother. HSNH, salut et bienvenue des Pays-Bas. C'est un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Nice to have you here from the Netherlands. That's pretty cool. What else do we have? Going down. Skidology also recently bought this Chinese DR radio that has a spectrogram. It was like 109 Canadian dollars. It's got like one tuning knob on the side. It seems to be pretty good, even though there doesn't seem to be a specific name for it. Huh. I wonder if you're not, it's not the, I got one of those here with the button, and you got to press and hold the button on the right to go through the different menus or the different things that you can change on the display. KW61, now Gilles, you are going to make me use my hand and fingers with those number stations. What else do we have? Blog and I tuned 17421 on the M-Lite 880 with 40 feet. Wow, antenna. Just installed new 1.57 firmware. Yeah, yeah, I need to check it out, see what's new in there, because I'm still on 1.55 on mine. I need to update mine. Close enough. 17421 beeps. Logadar hearing Morris. All the radios. Okay. Tosanlov 17421. Good in Memphis. Tosanlov's getting an over the horizon radar in there. BT radio picked up an Ethon FR 300 crank radio a few years ago for $1. Wow. No power cube and internal battery. Won't hold a charge for the crank. It is AM FM. Yeah, I've got one of those too. Here with the TV side that doesn't work anymore because now it, HD TV. Kevin Michael Satutsi also. Badge LL Bean. That's interesting. The radio I watched Tutsi again a few days ago. I need to watch it again. I remember I enjoyed the movie, and I don't think I've seen it since high school. I'd be curious to watch it again. What's interesting about watching older movies, is to see how well it aged. Some movies really age well, and some movies just don't age very well, honestly. Fred Waters saw Tootsie on pay-per-view in a hotel room in Toronto at a convention. Old radios, I like that genre called space age pop, but that's more later 50s, 60s. Yeah, that was that time when, that, like, they had this, like, when space exploration became a big thing, and that that all those music and all those songs that came out that had that weird sounding space age type thing. I remember quite a few. I got one in my head that I don't remember I don't know what's the name, but yeah, they're kind of cool. Kenneth, Amazon Prime days are next week, I believe. Yeah, there's I think 22 to 20, 22, 23 June, something like that. Jim Gordon, nice to have you here from Scotland. Ricky, nice to have you on board from Calgary. And it's 18 degrees. Here's going to cool down in the week ahead. We had a week of really hot and muggy weather, but it seems like for the rest of the month of June, we aren't really going to get much higher than mid 70s, which is fine with me, honestly. So what else do we have? So I'm still hearing the Morse code from St. Petersburg, Russia on 17421 CW. Kevin Michael, Beatles, CCR, my number one bands. My first ever album I've purchased, Meet the Beatles. I was at like one of those discount stores that sold like all sorts of things. And they had a small space where there were vinyl records. They were at really cheap prices, $3, $4, things like that. And I'm going through, and I like the Beatles, and I thought, oh, I saw Meet the Beatles. So, okay, I'm gonna check that. I think I paid like $2.99 for it in 1981 or something like that, and it was my first ever vinyl that I purchased. Nicole G6 BGV says 17421 coming strong in Northwest UK. In Europe, it should be strong usually because it is, I believe, the target area is Europe on the ones that we're going to do now. So the next one is going to come in 9 minutes on 16141. We're going to try that one too. So it's not strong, but it's here. I can hear it. Maybe if I'd be in a very quiet location, I'd have a better signal. Craig Martinetti says, loves all decades. My dad and grandparents love Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I like to listen that my mom was listening to, stuff like that. And my WX50, yes, Genesis, two of my favorite bands. Yes, in Genesis. KW61 show when I was growing up, we had both kinds of music at Dad's house, country and Western. My dad was crazy. Back in the day, we were calling it Western music. And my dad was like, I don't know how many times he played Johnny Cash records. It's like, yeah. People tell me, you know Johnny Cash? Yeah, I know all of the music. I've heard it way too much. Mark Sandquist, getting PL 520 finally after years of wanting A330. You're going to love it. It's a great radio. Great radio. I love mine. Somebody was asking me this week, should I get a 520 instead of a 330? And a couple of people have noticed and told me there is a big difference in price between both. The 520 is more expensive. And so I told him what I will usually say is, if you want to save money, the PL330 is great. You don't need to go to the PL520. But the PL520 is kind of nice. It's kind of modern looking also. I like that. The PL330 does look, for me, it kind of looks older now because the PL520 with the curved edges is like more modern. But performance-wise, they're pretty much the same. I played a lot with both of them this weekend. I don't see much of a difference, except somebody noticed, and I actually noticed also because I was looking at the signal levels on the stations I was getting, and I had noticed that the signal levels on the 520 seems to be a little stronger, and at times on some signals, I did kind of have the impression that the PL520 was getting a better signal on some of the weak signals. So it might be a little better at performance in general. So I don't know. We'll see. Sorry, guys, but I pet Paul the cat and my nose is like all scratchy. It's kind of it's I got some stuck hair, I guess, from Paul the cat. Blogger die. ML880. ML880 1.57 firmware is on the Facebook group. Okay. Skitology, no joy on 17421. Sheila, nice to have you on board from Belleville, Ontario, Canada. Luis Perez, nice to have you on board from Rochester, New York. Jasmine, most old movies are pretty cringe. The H1AO, nice to have you on board from Northern Germany. Metropolis, yeah. Is it still going on? No, it's not. So we'll post the next frequency to look at for number station, spy number. So it's a 16141. I'll put it in the chat, 16141 CW, 16140 USB. If you guys want to try it, this is for the spy number stations. And let's go here, 16141. And hopefully that one will come in also. We'll see if it does. Craig Martinetti loves The Journey and Steve Perry. That guy sings like up there. It's incredible. His voice is incredible. Okay, Michael, hope it cools down. 1010 CBC Calgary will come in. RJ Dakota, I have so many different kinds of music in my 12-inch collection in almost every genre, but a few. So, yeah. WX50, Johnny Cash was from here in Arkansas. Greg, nice to have you here. Klaatu, they're Canadian. Tusselhoff, my mom was country and my dad was classical. My mom was all of those, like, you know, Andy Williams, Johnny Mathis, stuff like that. She liked a lot Barbara Streisand. She liked modern stuff too. She asked me sometimes to play stuff. I remember being almost shocked at one point. She comes up to me and she says, you know that album you were playing yesterday? I said, yeah. Yeah, it's Pink Floyd. She said, want to put it on again? I like that album. It was Dark Side of the Moon. She actually liked listening to Dark Side of the Moon. Ricky, for a long while, my dad had a car radio quasi permanently tuned to the now defunct Oldies 990 CKGM Montreal, so I absorbed a lot of that as a kid. Yeah. I remember when CKGM was on 980 when I was young, and they had Casey Kasem's Top 40 in the Sundays, which was always playing, because on Sundays, when I was a kid, for sure I was going to be in a car because my dad would always want to go and drive around. Hearing 16141, not super strong, but it is there. 16141, the spy number station out of St. Petersburg, Russia. Weak, but there. So 980 CKGM was on the radio, and we would listen to Casey Kasem's Top 40 every week. Kev Michael, Gilles, Meet the Beatles was playing every day during childhood. It's one of my favorite albums, also the White Album. I listened to it a lot. I liked Meet the Beatles was a great album. I really liked it. Then I got when I wanted to spend a little more money, I went and got the Red and Blue album. that has all like the greatest kind of greatest hits of the Beatles types music albums, and I got those, which are kind of essential if you want to have some good Beatles. Greg says, I like the one with the sun on the cover. Oh my God, the Blues Brothers. God. The Blues Brothers. And the nun chases them out, and they kind of go down the stairs with the uh, the chairs and everything. It's like God. Fred Waterer. I grew up in a musical household. Dad was a country western performer. Loved big band. Mom loved Elvis and Dean Martin. And then I loved the music on 1050 Shum. My best friend turned me into classical. I was listening to music all the time. It was, for me, life without music is unconceivable. I can't even imagine a not having a um, you know music around me. But it's funny because some people I know are zero musical. They're like, if you talk music or something, it's like, oh, I don't listen to music. Well, why? I can't understand people. It's the way we are. I mean, we're not all the same, and that's okay. But I find it always very peculiar, people that just don't really care about anything music. It's that makes me always kind of find it weird. But some people are. They just don't listen to music. They don't care. All the radios. I watched this movie about hip hop from 1985. It had Run DMC, Fat Boys, LL Cool J, Sheila E., Beastie Boys. Forgot the name of the movie. That movie rings a bell, but I don't remember the title. Nicole says, I was talking to this guy. He said he likes 60s music. I said I did, to 1460 to 1760. uh, Old radios. You can hear that Prince touch with Sheila E. Yeah. If you like that, and yeah, I suggest that you, if I don't know if you have Netflix, do look at the documentary about We Are the World. It is a very well done and amazing documentary. Kev Michael, oh, the Pink Panther movies. Yes. King of the Xer, I heard Johnny Cash Ring of Fire in an episode of King of the Hill. Oh yeah, Peter Sellers was great. And the Pink Panther movies. I think I have a DVD box set here of the Pink Panther movies that I don't know where I picked up, or somebody uh, gave it to me or something. WX50, Johnny's wife, June Carter, wrote Ring of Fire. Yeah, that Johnny Cash was a very, very unique individual. I can say that. He was lucky to have his wife stay with him with all that he did in his life. But it's funny because I see that, and I, kind of look at my own dad's life, and it was almost like, well, that's the way it was. You know, guys cheating on their wives and drinking all day and whatever. It's like, I don't know. There was like that mood back then. Not everybody, of course, but Brian Leesner, when the 520 launch, AliExpress, I AliExpressed one and the price was 73 US dollars. Not bad. Anna has the PL 520 at 68.24. That looks like a sale price. So that's not that bad actually for a price for the PL 520. It's a great little radio. I'm amazed. You know, we got to put in perspective once again. I say it all the time. 6824 for a radio that does long wave, medium wave, short wave. It's a general coverage receiver. It has single sideband. You can calibrate its frequency, has sync detection, and it's super sensitive. And the audio is actually better than the 330. It's pretty good. And you think about it, and you're like, 6824. In the 80s, to have anything that would be close to that in performance and quality, it was several $100s. You didn't have anything under $300 or $400 that would be close to what that radio does. It is so amazing when you think about it. Really, really surprising when you think about it. Kev Michael, Gordon Lightfoot is my favorite storyteller in song. I remember hearing a song from Gordon Lightfoot, and I'm used. So I was listening. One of the songs that I was listening to a lot, especially when you go out in bars or in clubs, you hear a lot of dance songs. So one day I get on Gordon Lightfoot. There's a song playing, and it's like, I know this song, and it's like I started hearing it. It's like, if you could lead my life now. I'm like, where do I know this song? And then I just comes up to me and like, oh, I know that dance version from the 90s from I don't know who sings it. And I'm like, wow, that's a Gordon Lightfoot song? Okay. Dostin Love Beeps says, Blogger Die says, I heard some tones on 16141. Dostin Love says there's a slow over the horizon sweeping nearby. DH1AO, have you enjoyed the Sporadic E 2 days ago? Yeah, we had, I did a little bit of 6 meters. I got some contacts to South the US, the Caribbean. I had Mexico. My signal was getting out there pretty well, but because of technical difficulties where I need to change my coax, couldn't do a lot of it. KW61, they used to call your mom's music standards. Yeah. I mean, I have my mom's records here, and one of the series that I've never listened to, that I would hear, that I would kind of, I'm curious to listen to. I have the whole complete greatest hits of 1960, 61, 62, 63, 64. And I think I have all of 1950s also. And I'm like, well, should listen to that, see what are the greatest hits of 1950, 51, 52, and so on. Brian Leesner, ignore Anna's battery disclaimer. There is, if it's there for show. So there is a battery with the radio. Blogadai, Weak Morse on 16141. Jasmine, I like Sad, Dua Lipa, Kim Petras, The Weeknd. The Weeknd. I have this friend of mine that her daughter is crazy about The Weeknd. And every time she comes to karaoke with her daughter always says, oh, sing a song by The Weeknd. Kevin Michael, Dark Side of the Moon is fantastic. Yep. Doesn't know if you can't not like Pink Floyd, you just can't. Keegan the Extra, my dad liked country from Willie Nelson. Yep. Mike B, 16140, not there in Colorado. Brian Leesner, I'm just out of luck this weekend. Has it different radio would help. 16141 has the empty ghost noise where you put it in CW mode. Craig Martinetti, Eddie and the Cruisers. All right, Jay Dakota. Truthfully, I like a lot of what I hear on WRMI Legends, WKRP, and local stations on Total 20 that play rock, Americana, KLPW. Other times, I like a lot of Latin music, like Selena and Brazil, or the Brazilians. Ricky says on an Anco site, the specs for the Texan PL330 520 are identical, except that the 520 has USB-C and kickstand. Everything else, including sensitivity, selectivity, appears to be the same. I know. And that's the thing that I find interesting, because I mean, somebody came back on the videos and said, am I wrong in saying that the PL520 seems to have a stronger signal when you look at the signal to noise ratio? And I took for me, it's like the PL330 and 520 must be pretty much the same thing. And I would not have thought that. But in my comment to him, I said, I did, while recording, notice that the signal strength on the 520 were showing often stronger than the 330. Two things to take into account that could make sometimes a small difference like that is they're side by side, so they're not exactly, the telescopic is not exactly in the same position. Maybe it could, have an effect for some reason. And the other thing I told him, I said, by ear, most of the time I could not really see that there was a difference. But there was one signal that was weaker than the others that I tuned to. And I noticed that signal seemed to be stronger on the 520. But, it's not scientific because it's two radios with their telescopics next to each other. To see a result, the best thing that I should do actually is plug both the 330 and the 520 on my multicoupler to have the same antenna. So if I do that, now I know that there can't be a difference because of the positioning or anything. They're exactly on the same antenna in the same conditions. And let's see what, if the signals are the same. And that probably will be the ultimate test. Plug it into my external antenna to both together side by side and see if I see a difference there. If I don't see a difference there, then it's just something that has to do with the fact that because they weren't exactly at the same spot, even though they were close, there was some kind of difference. Jasmine says, I can't imagine not listening to music or appreciate art like that makes us human. Yep. My WX50, not liking music is almost as bad as not liking radios. Kevin Michael says, I can't get European Russia, but get Siberia and East Russia on long wave at 9 during when. Kevin Michael, starting at 0 UT, there's a lot of those number stations that come out of Russia that are actually coming out from Asiatic Russia. Those you probably would hear really well. Paul Richardson says, I can hear Radio Circulation 730 in AM CKAC Montreal in Sackville, New Brunswick at night. Yeah, that's a pretty powerful station. It's one of those 50 kilowatt stations. So that probably gives a pretty big signal. Pretty big signal. Sheila, for me, life without music or laughter, unthinkable. Yeah. Lila Pearson, nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. And let me just go where I was. All the radios, it would perish without music. Yeah, I don't know. It's possible. It's possible. It's very unique. You know, I took guitar lessons and all, and there's a logic in music instruments that is close to, you know, math. And so it's possible that, you know, like some of the best musicians are maybe good at science and math also, because there's some kind of, you know, the way all of that is, you know, works together. Keegan the Xer, my dad liked the Beach Boys, the Beatles, B.B. King, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Carlos Santana, Pink Floyd, CCR. Bert, WF7 Ion Brew. My dad, sister, and I all liked music. My sister and I played instruments in school. Mom, though, never liked music at all. I guess she didn't have the music gene. Yeah, that's interesting. Pretty choose. Oh, yeah. Peter Sellers with a Chinese roommate that we did karate. Yeah, that was great. What was his name? I'm trying to remember his name. Kevin Michael, the Big 8, CKLW 800 Windsor, Ontario. Good oldies. UFSC 2026. Nice to have you here. Kevin Michael, The Wonder by Johnny Cash and U2 is a great song. Yeah, I like that song too. I like the phrase where he says, he's walking under an atomic sky. You can almost figure out in your head what it must look like. Nickel 16141 CW again coming in very strong. That's good. We're going to have a last one in 2 minutes. Here's the frequency. 15928 is to try in 2 minutes. 15928 CW. 15927 USB. This is the last one coming out of St. Petersburg, Russia. So 15928. I'm going to go and tune that here. 15928. Oh, there's some radio teletype here. Let's do this. And we'll see if we hear anything. Jay Dakota, as a younger adult, I remember 800 CKW playing pop rock music. Hearing it, not very strong, but it's there. It's not very strong. Fred Water, Peter Sellers did a comedy album you can find on YouTube. Did a bunch of versions of She Loves You by various characters, including Alec Guinness and Dr. Strangelove and the Shakespearean Beatles. Yeah, Yusuf Stevens, Cat Stevens. I like Cat Stevens' music a lot. Ricky says, I think I heard the dance version of If You Could Read My Mind before the Gordon Lightfoot. Much preferred Lightfoot. Yeah, same here. I heard the dance version for a long time, not even thinking that it was a cover of some older song. And when I heard Gordon Lightfoot, I was like, what? He's the guy with that song? Can't believe it. Kenneth says, KW61 saw Gordon Lightfoot front and center at the Tucson, Arizona Community Center when I joined the U.S. Navy in '79. Wow. All right, Paul, off to dinner. Pizza again, so it should be short. All right. SWL Signals made some good contacts into South America last week via sporadic e-skip. Jasmine, oh my god, yeah, The Weeknd, so good. Best Canadian artist currently, in my opinion. Harry Crab, I have a slightly faulty PL660. It won't work on airband, but fine in everything else. I'm not keen on it. I prefer my very cheap ATS 20 Plus. Yeah, it's up to you. But you got a better receiver. It's an analog receiver. You can with the tuning knob a lot. The PL660 is way better for that type of listening. But it's up to you. I personally would keep it. Mark, how did you blow up your RTL V3? What did you do? Old radios. My dad also likes 80s MTV songs too, since he was in his 20s during the peak MTV. Harry says 16141 here in the UK and Fast Morris. Cool. Mike WX50. My Hawaiian nachos have been delivered. Be back shortly. All right. Radical Squadron, June 20, 1980 was the release date for the Blues Brothers, 46 years ago. Wow. Craig Martinetti saw Pink Floyd. It was an outside concert. Started pouring rain. I saw Pink Floyd in 1987 when it was the tour of the album they had released. The what was the name? The Momentary Lapse of Reason. Brian Leisner. Jill, the encoder for your Texan is on an Onco. I think you mentioned the 660, 680 had a bad encoder. Yeah, the 680, but it my friend opened it up and put some cleaned it up. It's a little stiff, but it works. But nice to know that they have the encoders if there were need to be a fix. Hi, Crab, 2234 here, live UK time. Yeah, I'm exactly 9 minutes behind right now. 9 minutes behind. Thanks, Jay Coat, for the donation. It says just helping pay for some bandwidth. Thanks for the donation, man. Much appreciated. See, Jay Coat says, long time no see. My fault. I enjoy seeing you here. Brings a smile to my face. Hanging with like-minded people. Cool. Nice to have you on board. For sure. For sure. Robert Osborne, nice to have you on board from Niagara Falls. Monitoring the marine bands and the ships in the St. Lawrence Seaway. That's pretty cool. Kato, yeah, Kato. Yes, Chinese roommates was Kato. Dean, nice to have you here. Ryan Leisner, while I'm on Anonco's site, the breakable replacement parts catalog has really increased. Antennas, kickstands, battery covers, and encoders. That's good. Luis Perez is listening to 16331.7, which is one of those channel markers from Russia. So I will be back, guys, in a few minutes. I need to go do my caregiving duties, get another beer. I am hot as hell in here. I am actually so hot. Be back in a couple of minutes. You can do the super chat if you'd like to help me out. It really helps a lot. And of course, you can help with the sushi night and cat treats through PayPal if you would like to help me. You have no idea how it keeps me going and helps tremendously that you support me. Any amount helps. Thank you so much. Back in a few minutes. It's not strong, but we are hearing Morse code from the number stations. Paul the cat is in the house, drinking water. And we are back. So, okay. So Harry says Seller's friend was called Keto. His real name was Bert Quunk, and he was British. Yeah, Radicals Quadrant, Jacques Clouseau. King of the X here, not only was my dad a Pink Floyd fan, my niece and his granddaughter had as a cat named Floyd. That's cool. Kevin Michael 279 is Radio Mongolia 1 at night. Cool. Brian Leisner, all I'm able to get is WRMI today. Skidology, can hear 15.928. On the ATS 25 X1 and Ratty Shortwave 001, simple loop antenna. Pretty cool. Yeah, Cat Stevens changed the use of his land. Well, that's okay. All radios. You know, we come from that generation where we would buy a expensive album and like only 2 songs on them. Which is so different than today where you buy just the songs that you want. It's really changed. Really changed. Yeah, no, the Jeff and New Hampshire, the names are all messed up now with the kind of a new way that YouTube is showing up the names of people. It's not the same names as before for most of them. Keegan DXer, I heard of CKLW in the Late Show with David Letterman on CBS in the 2010s and heard them on occasion on my old house. Michael been getting CB 11 meter band from South America and Mexico. Pretty cool. So nice to. I'm going to check. So I'm 10 minutes behind for those that wonder. I will go and check emails to see if anybody said hello through the email, because it does happen. And I sometimes miss out on those people that actually, just make sure. Make sure that I'm not missing out on anything. Thank you, Nicole, for the donation through PayPal. Much appreciated. And if I look at the email, nobody seems to have come up to say hello through email only. So, okay. All right. Let's continue and check out what's out there. Any pirates right now? It's a little early for pirates, especially at this time of year in the summer. Pirates will come up later. It's last week, I think, when we logged off at after 4 hours of show. There was a couple of pirates, including Wolverine Radio, that was in. Luis Perez having fun listening to European stations, beacons, and utilities, as I mentioned, in Rochester for a couple of weeks. Station in Rochester a couple of weeks, taking a break from the Arizona heat. Nicole has been hearing the 15928 CW, S9 plus 20 in Northwest UK. That's pretty good. Brian Leesner, I found this really good alternative firmware for the ATS-20. Buttons, as marked on the case, have different functions, but the radio's usability and readability, it's like night and day. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Ken and Jill is following Doug and Bob McKenzie. Wi-Fi, did you get your AC mounted in the window? Yeah, it's on. It's in the window, but I just didn't want to turn it on for the live show because it kind of induces a hum and a some background noise. And since it's hot but not super hot, I kind of left it off for today because this week it's been running all week. Microwave Mick, nice to have you here. Like B, shout out Mr. Paul. Oh yeah, Paul is it's very it's hot, so he was very thirsty. I have this little bowl of water here, and he's really exactly. So yeah, you lost your Alice, unfortunately, this week, Paul Stringer. YouTube Radio Stage Data, nice to have you here from Russia. That's been Paul working the camera. Yeah. Technology Paul looks almost exactly like my cat Wilson. Harry, yes, ginger cats look like ginger cats. Where you see a difference is when he looks at you. I've noticed that ginger cats, it's really the face where you, most of the time, you can distinguish between them. But if you look at them from a distance and they're not looking at you, they all look the same. Pretty choose some Mandarin 11610. Brian Leesner, this is the cool firmware for the ATS-20. I can't post links, but the Ghost Shanty version makers, it's a different radio. I'm gonna check it out. I have the ATS-20 and I don't use it, so maybe it's worth the change in firmware. Skidology, yep, 11610 is Madagascar World Voice. And let's check it out here. We should have, if all is well. Yeah, it's not on. Normally on 785 we should have Turkey. Sometimes it gets on a few minutes late. Brazil coming in really well on 11780. So this is Madagascar World Voice 11610. Very strong. Sad that there's no modulation, because 11880 is, I'm pretty sure, is Radio Van at Cuba, but there's no modulation on their signal on 11880. So Ari says Goshant is by far the best of the for the ATS-20. I think the button usage puts folks off. It's a cheap, crappy radio, but I'm shocked at how well it works. I'm gonna check it out. Maybe it would be worth it to update my change my firmware. Robert Osborne, 11610 from Madagascar, comes in clearer and stronger than some local medium wave stations in Niagara Falls. Old radios. Just bought Christmas music at a garage sale yesterday in June. My drink looks like strong Somerset cider. It's actually a strong beer. It's a Labatt Blue Dry, and it's an 8.1. It's 8.1% beer. It's funny because Jasmine says, by the way, the average song length has been going down for decades. It's funny because in the 50s or 60s, if you look at Beatles songs, a lot of the songs from the Beatles are 2 minutes something. There was a limit that they rarely wanted to go above 3 minutes. Then came the progressive rock and all sorts of, experimental music that came through. And the songs started to be like, no, I don't want to have a 2-minute song. I want to have a 6-minute song. And of course, they would have, often the radios would have the short version that was cut off. But it's interesting that we would have gone from 2-minute some songs into songs that are 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And then suddenly that we're going back to, I wonder if it has to do with the shorter attention span, because it is known that the young people today, the kids, have a very short attention span compared to us older dudes. And that I wonder if the songs go with that also. It doesn't have to be too long because, they're going to lose interest in the middle of the song or something. Joseph, nothing on 11610, text NPL 680 with MLA 30 plus. Oh yeah, it's definitely it went from, because in the 50s, 60s, songs were definitely short. They had to be like quick hits, and they were 2 minutes or so, a little more, nothing, rarely more than 3 minutes. And then it started to increase, and with a lot of the, the 70s, 60s, late 60s, 70s music, rock, and all of that. And it followed, like most songs were like 3-4 minutes after that. And it's interesting that we're kind of going back to 2-minute songs. TVDXer, ça va bien? J'espère que tu vas bien. Nice to have you on board. Skidology, gonna go inside, thunderstorm coming. Here I heard a couple of drops of rain on my air conditioning. So yeah, it's just, well, it's just a little thunderstorm that's like really stuck just above the city. It's very, very unique. And when if I zoom out, just look at that. It's really a thunderstorm just above the city. There's nothing else around, or almost nothing. It's kind of funny. But I haven't heard lightning or anything. So I guess we're okay with that. So, just looking if there's anything. So nothing in the powered bands. For Priam, we've seen pretty much what he had to do. Next number of stations are in Asia. They're the ones from Taiwan at 0 UTC. So, as I was talking in the beginning, and I know that there's new people that showed up now, remember that next week we are going to have the live show on Saturday, and we're going to have an extra live show on Sunday, listening to the BBC Midwinter broadcast to Antarctica. We still don't have the frequencies yet. So we're going to be checking that. They usually do a little test with these frequencies a couple of days before. And so next week is going to be like the normal show on Saturday. And we'll have a smaller, but, tuning the band show a little bit on Sunday, listening together to the BBC Midwinter broadcast, which should be normally at 21:30 UTC. Also, we'll be kind of, maybe go into a little nostalgic phase of Shortwave on Sunday next week. Thinking about the hours that are left, the few hours left of CHU Canada time signal. We know that Sheldon Harvey wrote to the National Research Council, and we know that CHU will shut down. So the first email said between 14 and 14:30 UTC on June 22nd. And in a followed email, they pinpointed 14:10 UTC. I don't know why that time exactly. But, just let's be there at, turn your radio on at a little before, like 13:30, 14 UTC. I'm planning to make a video of the last minutes of CHU and put it online. We have no idea if they're going to do an announcement or anything. I don't know if they even can do it, or if it's just going to be like, a switch off. The audio will go off, and then the signal will cut off. I don't know. So it's the last week, guys. So if you want to hear CHU 3330, 7850, and 14670, if you want to do something cool, why not ride them for a QSL card? A lot of people have been receiving CHU QSLs. It will be something to remember. You'll have a little souvenir of the last few days of CHU Canada time signal on shortwave, unfortunately. Jim Gordon, 11885 at 19 carries Voice of Vietnam in English with a real powerhouse signal into the UK on my D1103. Yeah, I hear that one in the wintertime. In the wintertime, it actually crosses to North America, and we actually hear it. But in the summertime, Voice of Vietnam is a tough one here. I really miss that they don't do a relay anymore. If you guys remember when WHRI existed, they were relayed through there. I find it sad that they didn't go through WRMI or any other station to continue that relay, unfortunately. Jasmine says it's about shorter attention span and streaming services. Yeah. I'm sure. KWN61 listened to 18.5 minutes of Alice's Restaurant last night on last night of Radio New Zealand. Okay. Mike WX50 DJs played the song American Pie. Yeah, American Pie, or they could also play Riders on the Storm by the Doors and just let it go for We actually had a fun night once at karaoke. There was nobody, and we were just like 4 or 5 regulars that we know each other real well. And I said, "What's the longest? I wonder what is the longest song in karaoke that is in the catalog? Like, I'm sure there's some really, really long songs in there." And then we were wondering, okay, what songs are long? What are longest songs that we could sing? Harry, 8.2%. I'm quite impressed. I didn't imagine Americans drinking strong beer. I'm thinking 9.5. Just going to go back up. Go back up. There we go. 9.5 Duval, Belgian IPA. Yeah, well, here I'm in Canada. So I'm not an American. I'm a Canadian. So I add, because this beer comes in pretty strong. And one day didn't have the other ones. So it happened a few times that on a live show I had 2 of those beers, but they were 10.1%. I usually take the 7.1 because I don't want to get too drunk. Jasmine says streaming algorithms are optimized for shorter stuff. Yeah, American Pie, Greg Martinetti. Jasmine, also the influence of DJs in production. When you hear a DJ mix, you rarely hear more than 2 minutes of any given song. Oh yeah, in general in a mix, it's very short. I actually used to enjoy that. In the 80s, we had a local radio station here, 94.3 CKMF, which still exists today. And they were, general 80s pop music. But they had every day, they had what they were called a super mix. And I love to record those because in a, I don't know, in an 8-minute super mix, you would hear tons of songs you want to hear, even though it'd be just a snippet of, I don't know, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And I like those. I remember making tons of tapes of those because I just like, it's like, it gives me a little feel of each song without having to listen to it, all of it. And I actually enjoyed that. Just enough on YouTube. I'll get commercials sometimes with long songs. I saw a record the other day. I was watching a podcast, not a podcast, a YouTube show, and the ad that came up, which was skippable, of course, was 22 minutes long. And I was wondering, seriously, who the hell will watch a 22 minutes long ad? I can't even imagine someone doing that. Dire Straits, Sultans of Swing. Yep. DH1AO. I saw Dire Straits live in the early 90s when they came out with, what album was it? Oh, they came out with an album. I'm trying to remember the album, but it was an amazing. I still remember being amazed at the live show. It was just so cool. It was somewhere in the early 90s. Sorry, early 90s. But the show was great. Jasmine says it's all about the drop. Brian Leisner says the commercial radio formula in the 70s, the first progressive rock stations like WMMR in Philly would think nothing of playing Close to the Edge, which happens to be the entire album side, 20 minutes. Here we have, I like that, and I don't listen often. We have our rock station, Shom FM 97.7. Every Sunday, they celebrate a vinyl for either, it's this anniversary of an album or whatever, or something about the band. And they play the full vinyl from A to Z. And that I just kind of find really cool. It's something we don't see much on radio anymore. Harry says, yeah, there's a big difference between pop culture and music. Yep. Skitology says, got really windy very quick. Do stay safe. Dusseldorf, there's a line of storms coming through Memphis. Switch to the Vermont Kiwi. Kenneth says, now it's time to demonstrate installing an antenna outside right now. RCA Dakota, American Pie did take up both sides of the UA 45 RPM records. Oh, man. Brian Leeser, WMR, has changed from quiet mellow DJs to something completely unlistenable. Brian Leesner asked me if I like commercial music stations. Go ahead. I already know the answer just by the way he posted it. Old radios in the 70s, Coors was banned in places apparently. So there are limits. We have rules. I'm pretty sure here in Quebec, beer and even alcohol has specific rules on the percentage of alcohol that can be, the content of alcohol can be inside one of those. Richard Wagner, how do I get a QSL? If you want a QSL, here's the details. I'm going to get up the page to CHU, and so CHU, Canada, signal, here in RC broadcast THU. Okay. So go on this page. And on this page on the right side, you will see contact us for reception reports. And there's the postal address and there's an email. I'm not totally sure if you send an email if you get a paper card. But I saw that people got paper cards in the posts that I've seen. So the details are in the link that I just posted. You can just write to them, send an email, tell them that you heard them, what frequency, time, and UTC, and so on, and you'll get a QSL card. Send Y3WR. They also have a test frequency in 9335, which is off now. Jasmine, it's like something you need drugs to appreciate. You know what? A Dark Side of the Moon is actually it. There's a rap YouTuber that listens to stuff he's never heard, and he listened to Dark Side of the Moon. And in the middle of it, he said, you don't need drugs. The music itself makes you almost feel like you took drugs. It's an amazing album. But you know, one thing it's you know, goes with the times and what we like in music. Some people like stuff that other people don't like. Some people hate Pink Floyd. We gotta face it. Not everybody likes the same thing, and it's fine like that too. My WX50 loves a rainstorm sound from Riders on the Storm. Yep. DH1AO, anyone here like Deep Purple back then? I was not a big fan of Deep Purple. I heard the main stuff we could hear, but I've never really been a big fan of Deep Purple. Old radios, I thought Coors was banned because it had too much alcohol content for some places. Yeah, that I think that's the thing, because it's like here. We have rules of how much alcohol can be in a beer. Good night, Art. Thank you so much for the donation once again, and have a good week. Next week we'll be there on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday live show and Sunday for the BBC midwinter broadcast. ZY3WR, WRMI 15770 strong all summer. They're booming at those hours so far. In your area, you're probably receiving 15770 over the North Pole. It probably goes over the pole up to your area, since the North Pole is always in daylight. Pretty strong right now. Pretty strong. Spain is also very strong on the 15500. No problem, Harry. Skidology, I wasn't around in the 1900s, but I like Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple. Yeah, RJ Dakota. Lots of different grades, absolutely. Brian Leisner says, it's strange how rules for alcohol content differ. When I visited Montreal, a Guinness Stout was at least 6%. Here in the US, 5%. And that's all available. You can tell the difference having only one. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I went to this bar once, and they had a Canadian-made beer called Big Rush, and I don't think it's available anymore. And I told the guys, like, what a name. He said, well, there's a reason for it. It's 12.5%. And I said, whoa, okay. I still remember I took only one. It was a hot summer day. I said, I want to taste it, so I'm going to take one. I took a pint, so that's a lot. And I sat down. It was like 90 degrees Fahrenheit outside. No wind. I took one, and it's as if I took a whole case of beer in one afternoon. I was like, all I want to do is go home and sleep. It was crazy. What was very interesting of that beer is that strong beers usually have a bitter taste that, because of the alcohol content. And that beer didn't at all feel like it was a strong beer. It was a little bitter, and it was actually good. And I was like, wow. But you don't take 10 of those, I can tell you that. I'm not even sure I would take 2 of those. Harry says, Rush ain't on the road again. Fantastic shows. Can't replace Neil, but that female drummer is very good. Not the same, but she understands. Jasmine says, Starset are amazing live. Marvin Motz, nice to have you on board from Beijing, China. Skidology, I actually played it in Frets on Fire, which was a Guitar Hero clone before Clone Hero back in the late 2000s. I still remember Guitar Hero when it was really the thing, and seeing these guys really like amazing, and I was like, do you realize that if you played the real guitar, the number of hours you played that guitar, you'd be a good guitarist. Close enough. You can't not like Nine Inch Nails. Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, the songs that I've heard from Nine Inch Nails are okay. I don't hate them. I will not go to listen to them specifically, but if I hear a song, it's okay. Skidology. My dad hates Pink Floyd for some reason. Jasmine says that's Starset. Toasted Love, start to choose sometimes what I like best. There's so much good stuff out there if you listen. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same for me when people say, "Oh, what's the best, for you in music?" I'm like, well, I like so much stuff, and there's so much great stuff. I kind of have a hard time saying that this is better than that. I am more into I got a bunch of stuff that I like that's really good. I do like one thing about I'm subscribed to YouTube Music, and YouTube Music, of course, like all of these aggregators, they tend to push you towards things that they think you're gonna like, depending on the things you played before. But I do like YouTube Music because my mix of songs is so just crazy that it will push songs in a random shuffle of an artist I've never heard, or a song from an artist that I've know the artist but I've never heard that song. And it's pretty darn good at knowing that, I'm probably gonna like it. And it made me, I would say, YouTube Shuffle made me listen to a lot of artists that I didn't know at all over time. And of course, going to karaoke is another thing. I go to karaoke, so a lot of people sing different things. And I'm there, the karaoke near me, if I go there, I'm an older karaoke guy. The average age is more like maybe 30 years old. So it will make me listen to what people that are younger actually listen today, because they will go and sing those songs. And I don't go to karaoke as much anymore, but when I used to go a lot, it is what kept me up to date with what today's music is, because they would go and sing all the stuff, the Lady Gaga stuff, the whatever, that I would not know about if I had never gone to karaoke, because I don't listen to commercial radio for music really much. And so karaoke was a big help in maintaining my knowledge of, all the new songs and the new artists out there. And YouTube. So, of course, I mixed in some of that new stuff, mixed in with the old stuff I listened to. So YouTube is trying to find, okay, he listens to, The Doors, but he's also going to listen to The Weeknd. And so it's trying to find what I will like in a shuffle, because it sees all the weird, the old and new stuff, and it tries to match something to me. And I find it particularly good at sending stuff that I've never heard before and that I actually like and add into my favorites on my phone. Paul Stringer, have you ever got any QSL cards on medium wave? I did QSL. I did QSL a few AM stations a long time ago, in the 80s. So I probably got him in my albums of QSL cards. Almost all the ones that I've sent letters actually sent QSL letters, not QSL cards, but they're in my QSL albums. But I didn't do a lot of them. It's when I look back today that I realized there were so many things that I didn't do back in the day that I realize today, because today's my knowledge of radio is much bigger. It's much better. And back in the day, I was still not really fully grasping what I had in my hands with shortwave radio and radio in general. Jasmine, there's a lot of ambient music which makes you feel like you took something. Absolutely. Yeah, yellow. Absolutely. Harry, thank you for the donation. Much appreciated. So the North Pole, ZY3WR, the Earth, there's the North Pole and the South Pole on the Earth. So what happens is that in the summertime, one of the propagation effects that we hear stations that we normally don't is that the North Pole, because of the Earth's angle in the summer, is constantly in daylight, which means signals that are going up, like even if it's dark in North America, a signal will go up to the North Pole because WRMI is broadcasting to Eastern North America on 15770. So it's basically broadcasting to the North Pole. And so that signal goes to the North Pole, bounces off, and goes all the way around up to you where you are. And you hear it, and that is a summer thing, because in the winter, the same signal cannot do that. The North Pole is in darkness, and 15770 is too high of a frequency to actually propagate in darkness. So, Paul, VT Radio, cold pizza tonight. Oh, that was fast. Okay. Kenneth says try the actual white lightning ones. Okay. Youch. Okay. That's strong stuff. Scalology kind of scared me for a sec because it got very windy and got dark, but then the clouds went past. Yeah, sometimes, thunderstorms are weird in that way. Sometimes it gets dark. You think it's going to be like heavy rain and everything, and all you got is an extremely strong windstorm that lasts for a few minutes, and no rain, nothing, Oh, Jasmine, absolutely. Absolutely. We will do karaoke, that's for sure, if you come to Montreal. That will be a thing. And yeah, the algorithm really kind of mixes in a lot of stuff. And but it's interesting because it makes me discover stuff that artists I didn't know. or artists that I know, but songs I didn't know from them. 2N222, Mr. Transistor, Beatles, Zeppelin, Beethoven. People would laugh at me because when I was learning when I had my guitar lessons, I went to a place where they were on the principles of you got to learn everything, including reading off of a musical scale. I did a lot of because a lot of the songs that I would play and learn were tablature, but one of my teachers was like, "No, you got to learn the musical scale. You got to learn the real thing." And it's funny because I actually enjoyed learning like Beethoven symphonies, playing them on my electric guitar from the sheet music as I was learning. And I had tons of these tunes that I would go through and play. And people are like, "What the hell are you doing?" I said, "I like that. It's cool. I'm reading the sheet music and I'm playing the actual, musical partition of a Beethoven song or whatever, Johann Sebastian Bach or stuff like that." And I was like, "I love it. It's super cool to play." And they're all looking at me like, "What the hell?" Yeah, I like it. Had a lot of fun with that. Mike WX50 says, "I set my home theater to be optimized for high quality music and movies. Title is a nice part for that, for great sounding music." Harry, I think most modern music is rubbish. Just go back. It's rubbish if you think about it. Rock music or pop, as we know it, only been around 75 years. There are also so many chords that you can arrange for pop and rock. There's a lot of very, boring stuff today, but modern music isn't all rubbish. There's some good stuff in there. There are some really good artists still, but as I get older, I also am a little more difficult with what I want to listen to. Third Ferguson, nice to have you here. Old radio's got dark this morning and absolutely poured rain. Harry out to drive 325 miles in the morning, yet I'm drinking beer and watching this. It's hard to do the right thing. Yeah. RJ Dakota is Radio Nacional de Amazônia broadcasting the game in Brazilian Portuguese. I wouldn't be surprised, but because they do have a lot of sports, so I wouldn't be surprised. But so tonight is music night. By the way, there's that new Brazilian station also that people have been hearing. Let me just fetch the frequencies here. There's a lot of people that have been listening to this Brazilian. If you guys want to try it, it's been heard mostly at night. It doesn't seem to be very powerful. Most people have been listening to it through Kiwi SDRs in Brazil. 7805 9310 and 11490 are the three frequencies. A station is called Radio Fazenda, and they are apparently active right now. So these are the frequencies for Radio Fazenda in Brazil. So if you guys want to try that, it's a reactivated Brazilian apparently. Keegan's having rotisserie chicken with macaroni and cheese and mashed potatoes. That sounds great. That sounds great. If I missed out on anyone that I didn't say hello, please do say hello. Again. VT Radio says, just realized that the Eton FR300 takes AA batteries. I can use it for weather channel off of Mount Mansfield. Yeah, you can put AA batteries in the FR300, absolutely. Just like the FR200. Even if you don't have that rechargeable block, you can put the AA batteries. RJ Dakota has too much noise, can't hear much on 25 meters. Skidology says, like, Voice of Turkey. There's no Voice of Turkey today. They often have that problem when they're actually not on the air, and that is an annoying thing. I mean, come on, you want to broadcast to the world. Can't you check that your transmissions are going through? So do I 3WR? So why I can hear CNR1 at 15760? It's the North Pole effect. Well, in your area, China can be also coming in on a different path. So it can be coming in direct without having to go through the North Pole. But in the summertime, if you hear a lot of stuff from the high frequencies, the best way to look at it is look at a map with darkness path and where it's day, where it's night, and see how much darkness there is between you and the station transmitting. Usually in darkness, you don't really get higher frequencies. Frequencies will often be lower, like, below 12 megahertz. So it could be the North Pole effect. It could be that there's a lot of daylight pad between you and China at that time, which means that, you'll hear it. It's also important to try to see what's the path of the signal. Where are they transmitting to? And sometimes you have paths, like, for example, here, I think the best way I can show it is I'm going to bring up Simon's world map, and I'm going to have you look at what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to right now, that's not the best way to show it. View, I want to view it from the rectangular, yeah. So if I want to see, right now it's following the daytime path. It won't be long. I'm trying to find how. Oh, it's too complicated. I'm going to get a map online anyways. So here we go. I'm going to bring up a world map. With the day-night world map. And I'm going to show you something. And some people will probably enjoy also seeing what I mean. So here we go. A great example of sometimes understanding why we hear stuff is understanding where it's day, where it's night, and understanding where, the transmitting station is compared to us. So here we go. I'm going to put the on screen here, display capture, and here's the map. So I'm located here in Montreal. So this is the area where I am, where I just point with my mouse pointer. this portion is daylight. And of course, you see here that this portion is nighttime. And notice the shape of this right now. If we would be in winter, this would be reversed. You would see that the bottom that has a lot of distance here would be at the top, and that the area of constant light at the top would be at the bottom. So this changes as seasons go by. One of the things that people sometimes ask me is, how come Madagascar is coming in so well in North America? Well, most of the transmissions from Madagascar are actually pointing to Africa. I told you I'm here. Now look at a transmission from Madagascar to Central Africa would go something like this. What happens? The signal is actually going in my direction. So even though it's not meant for me, it's going towards me. And if the frequency that is chosen is right, it should make it here. But I have to choose the correct frequency. Look at all that darkness pad right now. If the frequency here that would choose would be 17,800, that's such a high frequency that the darkness path would not make propagation possible up to where I live. But their 11610 frequency is still in the usable frequency range. So even though it's dark most of the way, still makes it all the way up to here. So, if you look at you, well, China is here and we're going somewhere here. So what happens is that it's actually not that far away. So you could have broadcasts to Europe, for example, that go here. But higher frequencies, like I said, aren't very good in darkness. So it depends on how much darkness. Here you're close to the gray line. So what happens is that at this time of year, most of these frequencies might actually still be okay broadcasting on higher frequencies to you. But in the wintertime, there would be so much darkness, that same frequency might not work. Same with WRMI. So I told you WRMI. Look, WRMI is here in Florida. It broadcasts to the east coast of North America on 15770, which means the signal goes that way. That way is going up to the North Pole. And that signal goes all the way around. And here, this is not a sphere, so it's hard to imagine, but somewhere here, the signal comes back down. And notice how there's very little darkness between WRMI and you in that path. It's sunshine almost all the way. There's only a small part of it that is actually not sunshine. It's too small to actually cause any problems. That's why your WRMI signal is so good. The same in the winter would be different because it'd be darkness everywhere, and that would not work at this time. So it's kind of a way to understand the propagation of signals on shortwave, which is very interesting. This is why having a like this is timeanddate.com, knowing when it's dark or when it's light is a really, really, really good idea, because it's going to give you an idea of, of when it's useful to broadcast. I have this software that is Simon's World Map. Simon's World Map is great for that. I use it all the time. So it shows a little house here where I am, and I actually use this to see where it's dark, where it's not. Look at the gray line also to see where does it favor, signals broadcasting to me, because the gray line is also a very important factor. But you can see that the North Pole is actually in complete sunshine 24 hours a day right now. If you look at this, this is a different way of seeing this. You could see that WRMI would be broadcasting from North America up there and going to the other way across the North Pole here, which is in sunlight. So this is something that is interesting to look at. So I hope it helps kind of understand a little more why you, at certain times of year, you hear something that you won't hear in another time of the year. Craig Martinetti says, love Bruno Mars. One of his songs that I hear all the time, I always, every time he starts that, it's like I hear Sting. I have the impression I'm listening to the Police. Cosmic Lettuce, nice to have you on board from southeastern Arizona, USA. Blogadai, see you next week. Thanks for being here. Always nice to have you here. And you're still recovering from Central European time. I hope you had a lot of fun, though. I guess you must have. Ari says, I have a UK intermediate license. I don't transmit because the conversations are very limited. I find shortwave listening or medium wave or VHF frequency listening far more interesting. So yeah, it depends on where you can actually broadcast and transmit, definitely. Matt, MDK2, nice to have you on board from Denver, Colorado. So the Y3WR, that gives me another question. Has any shortwave stations tried to change direction, like one to North Pole to another direction or the opposite? Many radio stations have rotatable antennas that actually can broadcast to specific areas, and they do use that effect to broadcast to a certain station. And so there are some cases where a station can broadcast to you using the North Pole and at the same time in the opposite direction to another target area around the world where it will not interfere with you. Craig Martinetti, is Transworld Radio still on the air? There's still a Transworld Radio is still transmitting from Estawini, Africa. It's the last transmissions that are left for Transworld Radio. If you look at Transworld Radio on shortwave, they are using at 14 UTC 17700. They even have in English Monday to Wednesday. They have 15 minutes of English 17700. And they also have English 11:30 to 11:45 Sunday. That's tomorrow morning. 11:30 to 11:45 on 17590. So they do have those are from different areas like Tajikistan transmitter side. That's interesting, but they have also a broadcast towards that's coming from Estawini, which was Swaziland, if you guys remember. So 15105. They have transmissions around 1440 to 16. Do they have English here from Estawini? It doesn't seem to have much English from there. Swaziland. They have... Yeah, they don't seem to have much of English on the Swaziland. Oh, there's... Yeah, they do. 1802 to 1832 on Sunday. So tomorrow, 1802 to 1832. That's not going to be a great frequency to North America on summer days. But in the winter, that would work. 9500 at 1802 UTC. 30 minutes of English on 9500 from Estawini, which used to be Swaziland. Harry says, I'd love to live in Canada. It must be so great living near the wonderful USA. Yeah. Cosmic Lettuce says, shortwave radio reception proof that the Earth is mostly spherical. Definitely. Definitely. Just with what I just discussed about the fact that a signal will go around the North Pole to the other side of the world, which would not be something that would happen. So they do have some relays from other places, but they've scaled down. Transworld Radio has scaled down a lot of their transmissions over time. So, but the real one, the one that is direct, that still is direct from a transmitter site, is the one from Estawini. Or wonder if the QSL would be interesting to have a QSL card. Yeah, Canada is a beautiful country, absolutely. And so Spain is strong. Hearing CHU on 7850. Anything else here? Not much. So, hey guys, I am sweating like a pig because it's too hot. And next week we'll have 2 shows. So we'll be back next week with a Saturday show. And it's supposed to be cooler, so it's going to be much better. We're also going to do the show on Sunday for the midwinter broadcast. So just put yourself on the calendar that Saturday and Sunday we'll fire up at 20 UTC, and we'll get ready on Saturday for a live show. We'll get ready on Sunday for the BBC midwinter broadcast that hopefully we'll hear where we are. And I hope that we're going to have a lot of fun, radio fun next week. So take care, everybody. There's a lot of fun, and hope that we're going to have fun next week. I won't do a Moscow Nights Jasmine because I'm going to sweat like a pig, and I don't feel very comfortable right now in doing Moscow Nights. So I know, but I'll next week for sure. All right, next week for sure. I promise. It'll be better. I'll be more comfortable in doing it next week. So take care, everybody. Love you all. Stay safe. And if I do it now, I'll have to take off my T-shirt, and I don't think that people want to see that. So take care. Stay safe. Next week we'll have Moscow Nights. I promise. It'll be cooler and it'll be more comfortable to do it. So take care, everybody. Love you all. Stay safe. And see you next week for 2 shows in a row, Saturday and Sunday, 20 hours UTC. Yeah, Mike, sweaty Moscow Nights. Have a great weekend, and have a great week also. So free to bear. Oh, good.